morning. Today we're heading over to Greenwood Public Library and we're going to see if we can connect with Dave Turrell Shields via Skype. And I hope that my friend Emily is working today because we are on the pursuit of better. Let's go. Hey, Emily.
Nice to see ya.
Likewise.
Gravy Studios upstairs.
This morning I was at the YMCA and I was running on the treadmill and I looked up at the monitor, and if anyone's ever been to the gym, they have all these monitors across the top, and it's basically to give you something to look at while you're on the treadmill. But a commercial came through the feed while I was watching it, and it was a Planet Fitness commercial. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I'm in a gym and I'm being advertised by another gym. And I started thinking about all the different gyms that are in the area. I mean, we have powerlifting gyms, we have Planet Fitness, we have an LA Fitness that's right down the road, and we have the YMCA. And I think the interesting thing about this, if you think about all the types of gyms that I just mentioned, you might think that they're competitors. It's my position that most of these gyms are not competing with each other because they're serving different populations. They know specifically who they serve. And I think the rise of Planet Fitness has been probably the best example of this. Planet Fitness set out not to serve the people that would frequent a facility like LA Fitness. In fact, they know who they serve, so much so that they're willing to poke fun at the people that would go to a place like LA Fitness. So they kind of make fun of the bro science and all the silly stuff that goes on there. And they've risen because they were so clear on who they wanted to serve and who they didn't want to serve. On top of that, they're an organization that they know that people are seeking a certain kind of feeling. They want to be healthier, but at the same time, they don't want to be judged. And having that insight is worth however many millions of dollars that Planet Fitness is worth, because that's what they rose on. And I think that you can do that with each one of the gyms. The powerlifting gyms, the things that those people are striving to achieve is completely different than LA Fitness, is completely different than Planet Fitness. Me personally, I go to the YMCA because of what they represent, and I go there to be around interesting people. I go there to be around people that are supporting a good cause, and it's a little bit more communal, a little bit more connection, and that's what I'm seeking when I go there. It's not fitness that I'm looking for. It's not fitness that any of these places are looking for, and I think that that's a key thing. That I think most companies would say that we're selling fitness. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Fitness, the only thing that's required for that is that you move yourself. Push-ups are free. Walking is free. Running is free. What people go to a gym to run on a treadmill, they're looking for something more than that. They're looking for what you represent and what kind of community that you bring with you. So I think that if we take that methodology and transfer that into the organizations that we represent, I think it becomes a lot clearer that the thing that we're doing, we're not providing health care. Sure, we're doing that, but what we're actually doing is providing an experience, and an experience for a subset of people that we're trying to be remarkable for. The example that I just gave is a particularly relevant example within the fitness industry, but this transfers over to healthcare and behavioral health. This type of methodology is being applied really, really well by one of our clients, and I want to provide an example of that. This particular client is located here in Greenwood, Indiana, and the name of the organization is Kenosis Counseling Center. Many of you probably are aware of them. Well, even the word kenosis has a religious meaning. It means to empty oneself. So when they were putting together this practice, they were very clear on who it was that they were going to represent and who it was that they were going to serve and who it was that they weren't going to serve. And they're totally good with the fact that this isn't going to be for everyone. And at the same time, it allows them to be that much better for the people that they do want to serve. So we're going to be connecting with Dave Turrell Shields. He's the owner of Kenosis Counseling Center. Dave also knows a lot about digital marketing, and I partner with him very closely. So we're looking forward to that conversation, and we'll be connecting with Dave momentarily. Part of what I want to talk about today is this idea of finding a good client service fit. And Dave's been doing a lot of work with getting a beat on what the internet is putting out. So we're trying to understand what people are desiring, and then that way when we create what we're going to create, that there's a high probability that people will actually want to engage with it and listen to it. So Dave, if you could just give us a kind of a quick run through of maybe just a bit about who you are, and then also some of the work that we've been doing together.
One of the things that I like to do is to get to know my clients and try to take the pulse of who they are and what they need. And what I don't want to do with them online especially is to try to sell them. What I hope to do is to get to know them and to get to know what they need. And if I can provide what they need, then they may very well become a client. And so what I've been doing here lately is I've been going to reddit.com, I've been going to Yahoo Answers, and I've been searching Google and Bing and Yahoo in ways that allow me to see what kind of questions my prospective clients are asking. And so I can take the pulse of what their needs are, what their resistance is to counseling. And if I can have that, and if I can answer what their resistance is, then I connect with them. And that is really the key to gaining their trust. And if I can gain their trust, then they're more likely to come in and see one of our therapists.
And I think that that's a fantastic thing that you just said. I believe that, and it depends on what perspective you're coming from. We have Stephen Covey that would say, that you need to listen first before you speak. If you're a religious person, kenosis has a religious connotation. So I've heard people say God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And we're trying to listen very closely before we open our mouth and say, here's just blabbering about what it is that we're going to give people. We need to know what they're seeking. And you've had some really innovative ways of looking at that. One thing that I personally do is, of course, any digital marketer, we're going to look at search volume. So we want to see how often a particular phrase is being searched, and then who out there is trying to meet that need right now. Because you're looking at both supply and demand. So we want to make sure that people are craving or looking for what we're putting out, but also that a whole bunch of other people haven't already met the need. If other people have already met it, then there's not a little niche for us to fill. And you use 2 tools that I don't use. I typically use SEMrush, I use Keywords Everywhere, and I use all of Google's tools to figure this stuff out. But you started using a couple other things that were really cool to see the match between what you're doing and what we do. And the tools that you're using were aggregating content from Reddit, and then also looking at question and answer boards to get questions from some of the most popular sites and aggregating that data. And then that way, if we have the answers to all of the most frequently asked questions and the most relevant questions, most timely questions, that does a lot for us being able to get our message out there in a way that people want to hear it. People should ultimately thank you for doing marketing if you're doing a good job.
Yes, I really want to provide value for my potential clients. They're in need and they have questions, and I want to be able to answer those questions for them and provide value in that way. I want to meet them where they're at, and not necessarily where I want them to be. I want to meet them where they're at, and when I do that, then I provide value, and they appreciate that.
I think that is a really important conversation too, especially within healthcare and behavioral healthcare, meeting people where they're at. So therapists say this all the time. And the thing with me was the therapist meets somebody where they're at when they walk in the door. And that's great.
Yes.
But also from the onset of mental illness to the point where somebody feels comfortable walking in the door to get an assessment done, that can be up to a decade. So my question always has been, how do we meet them where they're at 10 years ago?
Yes.
so that we can try to shorten the duration of suffering if we can. And that's sort of where I see our role right now of trying to think of really intelligent, strategic ways to deliver messages to people to allow them to feel more comfortable, to help overcome stigma, and to ultimately have a positive impact on people's lives.
Yes. Yes. And that's really key what you said. We can help clients shorten the time that they suffer if we can get into their minds and into their hearts sooner. And so I think that's really key what you're talking about. And we can really do that. We can get in front of them sooner in a way that helps them seek out help in a more timely fashion.
There's some things that Kenosis does that is really good on branding. You guys stand for something, and you're consistently delivering on what it is that you stand for.
You bet. You bet. We decided what our brand would be before we ever had our first client, and that was really important. We decided what we were going to be about, emptying out, changing, and filling up the future. And we brought that brand into existence before we ever saw our first client, and I think that was really important. And we at least annually come back to that, talk about how we're doing with that brand, and kind of reinvigorate ourselves on at least an annual basis with our staff and with ourselves. We monitor how we're doing with that. So we kind of feed the brand at least once a year as well.
Yeah, and people love Kenosis, and I think that it's because you are very clear on the branding. You're very clear on who you serve. And we're about to venture into some interesting endeavors, you and I, as far as podcasting and doing some things like that. And I think that it's important to know that when you get a negative review or something like that, you can tolerate that when it wasn't for them, because your brand can't be designed to serve everyone. It's designed to serve a certain set of people that have a certain a view of the world, or what a marketer would call a psychographic. So
Yes.
You guys are doing a fantastic job with that, and I just really appreciate you coming on here.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. You do good work, and we appreciate all you've done for us.
I want to do a quick recap on today because there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's some things that are going on behind the scenes that you might not be aware of. So there's our primary goal of achieving a good video that is explaining how we do marketing, that kind of thing. But there are two other things that are going on. There's us connecting with friends, so reconnecting with Emily and reconnecting with Dave Turoshield, strengthening those relationships. And then there's a third component that's happening. We're also seeing if we can improve our video skills. So we're trying to pull off some in-camera transitions, and that will make all the content better from here moving forward. So those are the three things that I really want you to keep in mind, and that's how we pursue better here at Tetra Prime.